That's me eating crow for thinking that Irene Aldana was actually going to put a better fight. I actually thought she was going to come and fight. She literally froze as the most you can obviously freeze. You know what I mean? And I'm a little surprised. I'm actually a lot surprised. But I'm not surprised Amanda won in any way, shape, or form. But I really, really did believe that Aldana was going to come out there and at least go out on her shield. She was going to throw punches. She was going to make Amanda know that she was there. And she was going to at least let Amanda know, like, you were in some sort of a fight tonight. Whether you win or lose. You're either going to knock me out or sub me, but I'm going to come out and I'm going to throw my hands and I'm going to see what happens. She literally froze. And those things nobody can predict. You can't predict if a fighter's going to freeze under the big lights like that. You know, this was her first big spot. I really do believe that she's talented and she is kind of savage enough to, if she was loose and she was comfortable and she didn't freeze, that she could do some nice things in there. She actually had one good moment in the fight where she threw an overhand right, the one overhand right she threw in a round, and she ended up clipping Nunes. And it probably took Nunes by surprise a little bit, but she stumbled her. And that was sign number one that I knew that she froze, because she never followed it up. And usually Aldana will follow shots like that up. Another sign was when Amanda took her down against the cage, and she ended up reversing it. And Amanda was starting to get up, and instead of letting her hands go against the cage to see if she can make something happen, she backed up. She didn't want to engage. It was like she just literally froze to the point where her corner was talking to her, like sincerely saying, "Is everything okay? Like, are you okay?" And you could just see, and John Anik said something interesting too that I noticed, but I kind of pushed it away. I was like, please. She didn't look like she was having like a good time on the walk. She looked like she was really fucking nervous. It didn't look like the Irene Aldana that we're used to seeing, where she's kind of smiling, she's all psyched up to get in there. She was kind of like caught up in the moment. So you can't really predict things like that when it comes to, like, are they ready for this spot? Are they going to freeze under the big lights? Like, she froze. She literally froze. She's going to hate herself when she watches that film. That's for sure. The main reason why we're here, though, is now that the fight is over, you obviously know what happened. Amanda Nunes ends up retiring tonight. There was a small part of me that thought that she would. And there was two ways I thought she would retire. I thought she would retire because obviously all the talk that she said about Juliana Pena, she has a hard disdain for her. And she said that, the only reason why I came back was because there was no way I was going to let Juliana Pena hold those belts. So she came back, she beat her. She fought her fight tonight, and she obviously dominated. Okay, so the deal was, if she wins this fight, she was going to fight Pena for the trilogy, because this was the fight that was supposed to happen, and it was canceled. So Amanda retires in the cage tonight. And that was the one part of the reason I said there might be a possibility that she's going to stick it to her tonight. If she wins, she's going to stick it to her. She's going to be like, you're not getting your title shot now. And that's kind of what she did. Now, I don't know if that's the reason why she did it, but she did it. Okay? And, Juliana Pena came out, and Bilal Muhammad came out, and this is why, she fears her, and she doesn't want to fight her. And that's got to be one of the coldest takes I've ever heard. You're talking about the greatest female combat athlete that we've ever seen. Okay, there's no one else. Like, there's no one else. You can't bring up anybody else. You can't bring up Valentina Shevchenko. You can't bring back in the day like Chrissy Martin. You can't bring up Layla Ali. Like, you can't bring up Clarissa Shields. You can't bring up anybody that compares to Amanda Nunes' accomplishments and resumes and reign. Okay, so for these people to come out and say, like, this has to be done, she fears Juliana Pena, she retired because she doesn't want to fight her for a third time, is absolutely maniacal. It's maniacal. You got to understand, trilogy fights really back in the day, like, a trilogy fight is supposed to be when two fighters, right, get together and fight. And they were both such great fights that you have to have a third. You got to see a third. You got to have the tiebreaker. You know what I mean? As time goes on, a lot of these trilogies just happen for money grabs. Two big names, it's what happens. They're going to make money on it. It's 1-1. Let's do it again. But they didn't do it for. Why isn't anyone questioning GSP and Matt Serra? Why aren't they questioning that? GSP got knocked out by Matt Serra, then comes back and completely dominates Serra. They never had a trilogy, but nobody questions that. Nobody says, like, well, they never got the answer on Serra and GSP and stuff like that. So what makes this any different? Juliana Pena beat Amanda Nunes that night. despite what happened with Amanda Nunes that night, which she was not herself. It's quite apparent after that loss and then her last two performances and her performances before that, she was not herself. But she beat her. Let's just say it's on her resume that Juliana Pena beat her. She came back. Now this is the crazy thing. She came back, and people are local. She didn't beat her. She absolutely destroyed her to the point where you think tonight was a destruction. Okay, you think tonight was destruction? They were the same exact cards against Juliana Pena in the second fight, minus one card. Okay, minus one card. Identical cards, identical score, except for one card. One of the judges didn't give the 10-8 round. They gave an extra 10-8 round to Amanda tonight. But it was pretty much the same card. So it was that kind of domination in the second fight. So, like, what are we going to learn from that? Like, it's not going to mean that Juliana Pena is now the greatest fighter of all time if she ends up winning the trilogy. Like, what is that? At the end of the day, if she lost tonight, she'd still be the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? So I don't understand what the philosophy behind is. Like, you got to see the rematch. You got to see the rematch. Guys like Bilal Muhammad coming out saying, like, this is why she's the biggest threat to her because she's not afraid of her. And I agree. There's people that just aren't afraid of her. Juliana Pena's not afraid of her. But it doesn't matter if you're afraid of her or not. Look at the scorecard from the last fight. It was complete obliteration. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was the same exact scorecard as tonight, minus one card. So, like, why do we got to see it again? It's not about who's afraid of one another. It's about who's going to win the fight. Who do you think is going to win the fight? You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really crazy about the fight. I got to be honest with you. I was more interested in Aldana and Nunes. Shame on me, in a way, but I was more interested in Aldana and Nunes. I knew that if Pena was going to fight her again, she was going to destroy her again because she was training for Pena. She has a terrible disdain for Juliana Pena. She can't stand her. And Nunes don't hate a lot of people, but there was no way in hell that she was going to lose to Juliana Pena. There was no way. There's not even a shot. And to know that if she loses, the trilogy's over and that's it. She'll never get another crack at that belt. Juliana walks away and laughs. No, it would never happen. So, I understand why people can, they're saying, like, we should see the trilogy and I want to see the trilogy. And I get some of the people's reasonings why, like, they would want to see it. But the fact of the matter is like, you don't need to see it. Like, it wasn't that close of a fight. When you got things like Gatti and Ward, Barrera Morales, Bowen Holyfield, Edgar and Maynard, like, those fights were, like, back in the day, those were the trilogy fights you wanted to fucking see, when it was like split decision, and then a unanimous decision, or a late round knockout, and then you want to see the third fight. Like, you don't want to see a fight where, okay, yeah, she beat a kind of like a cripple, the Amanda Nunes at that point, because it wasn't her in the first fight. And then she comes back and she gets completely obliterated when Nunes is, like, mentally there, healthy, and ready to go. So it's like, it's a fight we don't need to see. So for people to come out and say, like, we'll never know, like, you don't need to know. You should know. Look at this girl's resume. This is a female who literally, she won the belt in 2016. She won another belt, obviously, in this interim. Okay, so she's won 2 belts and defended them from 2016, okay, to 2021. She had the blip in the radar with Juliana Pena. She wins the belt back, and she defends it again in 2023. Like, what else do you guys need to know about this girl? That for almost a decade, this girl's been just washing people. She's 35. She's got nothing else to prove. Let her retire. Like, that's it. She was a great champion. She was good for the sport. She never got into trouble. She was never a bad face for the sport. Like, Juliana Pena, what, like, really, like, what do you need to see? Is Juliana Pena good? Yeah, she's good. She's good. I'm not going to say she's not good. Okay. She beat Amanda Nunes. She lost to her. She beat Sarah McMahon. She lost to Jeraine Durandamy. She beat Nico Martino. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko. She beat Kat Zingano, Jessica Ai. She lost to Bennett. She lost to Sarah Moraes. Like, where is there? There's not even a comparison. Like, there's not even a comparison in the two fighters. Not even a comparison. So even if Juliana Pena did win, it'd be like a little stick in the ass. I get it, to Nunes. She'll have to go away. unless Dana White said, look, we got to do a fourth. You know, she's the GOAT. She deserves it, whatever. But if the trilogy ended, then, yeah, I could see where at least she gets that bragging right. But it's not a fight you need to see. Like, it doesn't change anything with Amanda Nunes. So, you know, don't listen to some of these people, like even some of these fighters. You got to remember, there are bias involved. They're friends with them. These certain camps are friends, and you know, it's just the way it is. I mean, for anyone to even come out on Twitter or any kind of social platform and kind of talk that way about a woman who's done more in the sport that they will ever do, like, what is Bilal Muhammad ever going to do in the sport that, I mean, he won't even scratch the surface of what this woman did. And he's going to come out and he's going to talk about, well, she's afraid of him. I mean, come on. I seen a couple people tweeting it. I mean, Juliana Penny, you expect it from, but you don't expect it from some of these fighters where, like, respect the GOAT, man. She's never done nothing. It's not like she's a bad person. It's not like she's a John Jones and she did drugs and stuff like that. Like, if she wants to retire, let her retire. She's got nothing to prove. But for these people to come out, like professional fighters and stuff, to come out and say things like that, I mean, that's very disrespectful. That's very disrespectful. Do that to someone like John Jones, you know, who's a phenomenal fighter, a great fighter, one of the greatest of all time, but had his share of issues in the cage and just isn't a good person. Don't do it to someone like Amanda Nunes. Like, give the girl her shine. Congratulate her on such a stellar career, and let her go off into the sunset and have a family and do what she wants to do. She deserves it. I'll end it there. We'll see you next week for the fights.